Greetings and welcome to a Friday edition of the Shotgun Start. It is February 21st. Andy, how we doing?
Brendan, I'm doing all right. You know, I'm having to persevere today. We've got a plumbing issue. I've had to move out of the very luxe studio, and I'm handheld. I'm on the road basically. This is a road game. We're gonna have to get through it. PJ and I were having a delightful NFL hot stove discussion, talking about how both of our teams are bound for the Super Bowl next year.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but Justin Fields, New York Jet. We'll see. We'll see what happens from here.
Love that.
I gotta say, the other thing that PJ and I were talking before you got on here is we've been neglecting the soundboard lately.
Man, we sure are spitballing, aren't we, Rich?
It's just been a quiet month for the soundboard. February, I feel like there hasn't been any soundboard usage.
Let's do some spitball. Let's do some whip around Friday spitballing from the global home. These are gonna quick rifle them off. I'm getting unsubstantiated rumors. We're gonna get to this deal. Everybody's at the White House. That seems to be the big thing. News is happening as we're recording this Thursday afternoon.
First 100 days. Golf back together. Most predictable.
That was a lock hammer fire pick by you, Andy. That was a hammer.
Give it. And I love that the White House is now the scene. Like, no, come on. No, I'm going to hold up both arms. You know, Trump's going to hold up one arm, Yasser in one hand and Jay in the other, and like just shout about it. Meanwhile, world order may be disintegrating in other parts of the globe, but we have Yasser. We have professional golf united.
Golf.
That's what matters.
I've brought people together. Now, I just saw a thing that came across my desk was that LPGA dads are sending letters to Trump.
I saw that.
He's a disgraced bastion to save golf. To save golf, he's just the man to do it.
Let me tell you. You start your sentence with LPGA dad. I'm out. I'm out right there. It doesn't matter what comes next. LPGA dad, PGA Tour dad, I'm out. I don't want to hear what they're up to or what they're trying to angle for. LPGA dad, sit down. Let's go to whip around
Friday.
Friday.
You just had in your tone of your voice when you said what? LPGA dad? It sounded kind of like this tone.
Podcast.
I just don't need that. I don't need the thoughts of LPGA dads. I aggregated. I don't need it.
It was the exact same tone when you said LPGA dad.
Let's go to whip around Friday from people spitballing. Andy, I'm getting multiple unsubstantiated rumors that people with lofty titles, executive titles, maybe inside the global home, are using their positions of authority to impose Girl Scout cookie orders on subordinates.
Oh, this is the type of news I needed to hear.
We talked about the increased rates at the cafeteria, but this is what this isn't. This is obviously a workplace issue, right? People using positions of authority with improperly.
Hold on.
Me Too movement was founded, but now we've got the Girl Scouts cookies.
Let's be clear. The Girl Scout cookies, I think there needs to be open discourse about Girl Scout cookie, tactics.
I have a daughter who's a Girl Scout. I said, we're not doing the cookies. I walk
into a grocery store, I feel like I'm being held hostage to buy the cookies.
You need a Rolodex of excuses.
You come out, I've never met these people, and I'm having to buy cookies because they're sitting there.
Yeah. Yep.
Left and right. Sometimes I stand inside the store and wait for somebody else to get picked off and scurry out. They're everywhere. They're all over the place.
You know what I'm not doing? I'm not coming to work saying, PJ, my daughter,
I think you should. I think that there needs to be rules of engagement. I think this is an acceptable rule to go to colleagues, to go to neighbors. I draw the line on random strangers. You cannot get picked off by random.
They gotta sell them. They gotta sell the tables outside the Starbucks near me.
This is what I'm saying. That can't happen. That's where I can't do it.
I don't like using your position of authority at work to impose your little Rugrats Girl Scout. Like, well, you got to order some. You thinking about that promotion? You want? I don't like that.
I don't agree with that, but I think it's okay to hit up the colleagues. I think when you're just random strangers, that's where I have the problem.
Me too. Of Girl Scout cookies, probably using positions of authority for unwanted, power, using your power.
Somebody hit me.
Regard. Maybe the Me Too movement. We'll call it that. Girl Scout cookies.
Do you think this is acceptable?
Yeah.
You're at a friend's kid's birthday party, and one of their friends who you don't know solicits cookies on the side from you. Is this acceptable behavior?
PJ has thoughts. Go ahead, PJ.
No. I think that's a step too far. You're in a controlled environment. Everybody's supposed to be friends here. This is a no soliciting zone. However, I am a sucker.
Soliciting of any kind.
And I love Samoas. So if at any point that I can buy Samoas, I will be a sucker and take them. That is an unfortunate circumstance for me.
What else is on your top of your Girl Scout cookie chain?
Samoa is really just the one. I like a Thin Mint, and I had the s'mores for the first time recently. Those
s'mores are great.
The s'mores are
great.
I can't keep up. They've expanded like the PGA Tour schedule. There's just expansion everywhere. There's new brand. There's too much. It's so that they've lost their history. They've shit all over their history, like the Western Open. You can't keep up with all the newfangled brands.
Can we rewind here? And you told your daughter we aren't selling cookies?
We're done. Yeah, I got the whole troop to exempt themselves from doing the cookie deal. I mean, not me. I told my wife was more powerful, was much more persuasive. And they're just like, we're not doing cookies. It just puts everyone in a bad spot. Nobody needs that. We'll get by without selling the cookies, I think. I have no involvement in any of this. I just want to be clear.
Other great one, Adventurefuls. The brownie with the caramel and sea salt. PJ, add this to your menu.
So this is going on at PGA Tour Global Home, where maybe they're merged here shortly. One more little whip around Friday. We don't need to go more than 1 minute on this. I love that they announced a new title sponsor for the Myrtle Beach event, the opposite field event. Now, the irony of it is One Flight joins as a co-title sponsor of the One Flight Myrtle Beach Classic. My favorite, the irony of a private jet company sponsoring a quote-unquote additional event or opposite field event, as they're known, for all the guys who aren't flying private, more or less. Aren't these the guys that are down on their luck, quote-unquote, they're making whatever. But yes, I love that a PJ company is sponsoring an opposite field event. Doesn't make.
Can I just also say that, like, of all the far-flung destinations in the Myrtle Beach, to me seems like the least private jet. This is a place that this is a popular place for the masses. Like, why don't they do Sea Island? Sea Island screams private jet.
Good point.
Right?
Good.
Like
point.
this just. Again, we talk about this all the time. I think we give the tour a lot of shit. I have to commend their sales team. They are extraordinary. They're incredible salespeople. They hoodwink and just get into those pockets like at unbelievable levels. I mean, we're seeing it kind of with the TGL too.
Yeah,
it's like
SoFi named SmartPin as the official flag stick of the TGL. They have an official flag stick now. TGL.
They're rolling out new features, and they're just rolling them out with them sold. It's admirable stuff.
Well, this is why, as I said to you guys the other day, the stock people love TGL because it's getting SoFi out into the universe.
What were you saying that this is rumored that this is going to be the next GameStop?
SoFi is like a big, trending Wall Street bets stock, and people keep on tweeting about TGL, and all of the 500,000 people watch this on ESPN. You're seeing SoFi's logo everywhere.
Therefore, SoFi is to the moon.
I think we have to disclose this is not. We are not fiduciaries.
Yeah.
We are not. We are not providing financial advice. Have I covered our bases now? Manage your money at your own risk. These are not financial picks, or we are not. It's not like our betting picks that are
No.
clear
Locks.
hammers.
Hammer lock. I put some of my own money on
Touts.
Toasty this week. Touts. Get the hell out of here. Oh man, it's a tough PGA Tour live. Toasty. I have my own money on Toasty this week. He's T2 -6. Love that.
How about this? Is a great Toasty place where you could just bludgeon away.
Yes. Someone proposed to me in a text that this is the worst week on the PGA Tour. I said, "Oh, I don't know. That's a very crowded field. Like it's up there. Well, we can maybe nominate others. Fall, I think, is just the
This isn't the worst
category of shitstorm. But
can I tell you? Can I tell you
ahead.
a rising star on the PGA Tour, an event that's a rising star in my eyes?
What's that?
The John Deere Classic.
Oh God, you're being purchased. You got Boston Ball Frogs 2 in your power rankings. You got Senior PGA. We know how that became event of the week. Why is the John Deere a rising star?
I think we overlooked the illustrative winners list at the John Deere Classic.
Yeah, that's
Dylan
fair.
Fratelli, Sepp Straka, notably. I mean, two icons of this podcast.
Yeah, two icons for real, legit. Nobody's talking about those guys more than this podcast. I can guarantee you on that one. So you're
Back
getting
to your-
bobbleheads from the Deer. All right, that's why. It's a rising star.
En route. You know, my favorite thing that I didn't realize, they tweeted at me with a couple pictures of things that they clearly knew I would not be able to resist.
Yeah.
I saw those and a tear almost came to my eye.
Fratelli. I mean, I need that Fratelli bobblehead. That is a good one.
Maybe they have another one. Maybe they
right.
can ship it your way. But one of my favorite things about their tweet that I missed the first time was how they clearly put in all caps FedEx. They're going to ship it via FedEx. They weren't just shipping it; they were FedExing it.
Yeah,
and it's an underrated part of the whole tweet to me about getting me these bobbleheads is that they are coming via FedEx, the tour sponsor. One other thing about this event.
Yeah.
It just made me jog my memory. The illustrative, title of the worst. Somebody is claiming it's the worst event on the PGA Tour calendar.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it's close to the worst event. I think it might be the high 30s, low 40s. Like it's on at a good time of day. At a bad time of year for sports in general. It's on a good, it fits a window and a time of year people are inside. Now, and it's the Mexico Open. It is a national open. That's the other thing.
Fair.
You cannot call it that. I will say that I am alarmed, shocked, in awe. I forgot about this because we went a couple months. Like it wasn't, all the crownings of Jake Knapp because he won this event.
He's a bouncer,
People are just like, this is like Jake Knapp is on his way to superstardom. People asked Rory last year at the Cognizant,
really?
What do you think about Jake Knapp's game? Is he a star in the making?
That's fine. He's good.
This happened last year. It's resurfacing this year. And I just like to call out, this golf course is perfect for him.
Yeah.
He bombs away. He doesn't really have control of his golf ball. Sure, he was a newcomer to the tour last year. He's 30 years old.
Wow. He had the bouncer. He has tattoos.
30 years old.
He hits it far away. They're into that.
He wins. All right. It's still being resurfaced that he's like the star, like the next hope of the tour. And I don't have any problem with Jake Knapp. I like watching Jake Knapp play golf.
It's not an anti-Knapp take.
This is not an anti-Knapp. Let's just hold on. Let's not just drop our pants anytime somebody wins. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
He finished T4 at the Cognizant. His next best finish was the week after he won, which he got hot. Since then, he has one top 10 in a calendar year. One top 10 at Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch. Let's talk about the best events that he's played in. Okay, so he gets into the Players. T45, and the Arnold Palmer, T57, T45 at the Players, the Masters, T55, RBC, a signature event, T62, Wells Fargo, T58, USPGA, MC, Memorial, MC, US Open, MC, Travelers, T48. All right, let's go to another big time event that he's played in. FedEx St. Jude, 67th. So he won and he didn't get past the St. Jude. And then let's go back to Century. He finished 56th. Pebble Pro-Am, another signature event, 33rd. And last week he finished 17th. When he's played against elite competition, the best finish he's ever had is 17th.
God, just burying the guy.
I'm not trying to bury him.
Anniversary.
We need to have some limits before we call people superstars or stars in the making.
Stars in the making.
There has to be some body of work other
people
than
are
just a
clowns.
win with 90-yard wide fairways. All right, end of rant.
I would propose CJ Cup Byron Nelson as the worst event of the year. We're maybe the worst week of the year. That's exempting fall. RSM
so
is
disrespectful to Byron Nelson. It's
It
so
is.
sad.
Used to be a thing. Tiger would play there. Everybody would play there. Now they've just wrangled it into the dirt.
Well, hold on. There's hope though. You got Lanny.
Lanny's white. Lanny's tightening it up, building better bunkers. All these things.
This is unsubstantiated rumor. There was like a big attempt from some people within the tour to get someone involved in that redesign with some architectural chops, and they were just steamrolled.
By Lanny? Who knows? By the CJ Cup Byron Nelson? By the Salesmanship Club or whatever it's called?
God, I don't know exactly
EPC.
who. There was a real effort put in.
T.
Like,
Nelson.
if we're gonna spend this money, let's like make something good. And they ended up with land. It just gives you a general show of how it works in there. But we got the Creator Classic back at Sawgrass, so
we do. And
there's
you know who
all
maybe
is right.
Could we have an opening, an exempt additional spot in the Creator Classic for the most famous creator in golf, none other than Bryson DeChambeau?
Bryson.
Will it be time? Whatever, we've got 4 weeks. We're getting reports. Now this is coming out. Golf Channel reports that today's White House meeting could result in a deal in principle. By the end of the day, between the PGA Tour and PIF, there's news that Adam Scott, Tiger Woods, Jay Monahan are at the White House. Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the governor of the Saudi PIF, sort of the overlord of Live Golf, is also on site at the White House. I think the president is there. I assume he's there. That's where he lives. I know he travels a lot, but that would be weird if they flew there just to meet in the Oval Office without him. I think Yasser was in Miami doing a talk at a thing. I think Trump's been in Miami doing, a talk at the same thing and, bouncing around down there. Tiger lives down that way. Who knows what's been going on? Now they're at the White House, and reports are a deal in principle by the day's end could be announced. This would track with
What are we
we're
doing
very close. We're
right
soon.
Are we going to have to go live right after this goes into feeds?
Well, here's the thing. Like, what's going to be announced? They're not going to say, here's our schedule for next year.
Maybe.
Here's exactly how it's going to go. Here's how we get Bryson back on tour. Here's how we get Rahm back on. Maybe I'm being overly skeptical. I think it's going to be an agreement.
Well, I think we should
we'll continue as we are for the next year, and then we're together.
Maybe
as a
we
global deal.
Should we print shirts that say "Let Don cook"?
No. No. I'm just gonna
let Russ cook.
No.
Maybe we'll have a whole schedule. It's unbelievable.
Well, we gotta wait. We gotta wait to see what Moscow says about the schedule first. Too. We gotta see where their stops are gonna be.
I feel like this is too political. Let's move on.
I think I don't think.
I was gonna use let Jay cook for the schedule, but I think we've seen him cooking for the last 4 years.
He's one of the he can cook only on the menu. You come in with a little something extra special, like whoa, he just starts fumbling around on the grill, throwing shit around, like it needs help. I no, does that make sense? There's not like going to be like brass tacks, but it's notable. Like, of course, we had same thing on June 6, 2023, and that was a mess. This feels a little bit more official with the United States government involved in one form or fashion or another. But it feels like, all right, we're going to finish out 2025 as it is. I would imagine that we can't like be having like too much stuff. The die is cast this year, right? I mean, Liv's got tournaments to do and Tour's got its things, and it's got its 125 members and all that stuff, or 100. So I think there's not going to be anything immediate other than this is over. You know, the war is over, but here's how we're going to merge in year 1, 2, or 3 from now.
2032.
Sound right?
When Liv Adelaide.
We gotta wait for the Adelaide contract. Never mind the DOJ, the US DOJ. We got that Adelaide contract is holding everything up.
What if they bring everybody together at the world's preeminent golf festival, the Gold Standard? What if Gold Boy brings everybody together?
I proposed this last year. This is how long this has gone on. That in our newsletter, Gold Boy was going to scale down the global home digitally and announce it in the metaverse. I wrote this in the newsletter. Whenever we need a big reunification party, we need a 1-week carnival of games, a commingled event. Maybe you'd make it 72-hole stroke play event. We need fireworks. We need a unified belt ceremony where Scotty's holding up the belt. There's Yasser can just shill out another $500 million for the week. They rent out a 36 Wingfoot or Royal Melbourne, 36 holes. You've got side games. You got a dunk tank with maybe Jay's got to sit in it while you can chip wedges at the button that dunks him. You just need a big celebration of reunification for 1 week, a commingled event where it's both tours and it's a party. With some golf.
I think for golf media, maybe the greatest thing that they could do is that they have like a match between Yasser and Jay for some like clause. Like if there's a sticking point and they can't, and it's an either this way or that way, they do a televised 18-hole match between Yasser and Jay for Andrew Waterman and Big J go into the ring, and whoever wins the match gets their way on the clause.
As per Appendix A of the agreement, there will be an 18-hole. Yeah,
I mean, it would be just like such a spectacular way to settle a fine point, like a fine print detail that might be a sticking point. It'd be like the duel, a great duel. This is the match that settles.
Yep. So it's moving apace. Do you have any reaction to that?
Who would be on the bag for each of them if they had that match for something, for a critical sticking point?
I would like
representing Liv.
For the PGA Tour, I'd want a proper caddy, like a real caddy.
Bones?
Jay Monahan, the caddy, Jay Monahan. Caddying for the commissioner, Jay Monahan. Caddy Jay Monahan, or Commissioner Jay Monahan. That's who I'd want on the back.
Who does Yasser go with?
I mean,
Jibo?
Who?
Jibo?
Yeah. Maybe some sort of menacing figure from his home country. I don't know. Any reaction? Any other like serious? Like, dude, what do you expect? They're just gonna say we're agreed. We've the deal.
Thank God.
I think Don's gonna take a big victory lap, as you can imagine. That's why it's at the White House.
Thank God this is all over.
Well, I
seemingly
don't say that just yet. Yeah.
Just. I mean, like, what's going to be fun is unpacking, like, what's going to happen to DJ.
What happens?
Like, are we ever going to see DJ? Are we ever going to see DJ again? I mean, I would be super anxious if I was Cam Tringali.
Yeah.
Like, do I have to just go back to the start? Carlos Ortiz. What does Carlos Ortiz do?
Well, come on. Mexico Open week. We can't drive by Carlos Ortiz. Come on.
Abe Prancer, one of our favorites on this pod.
Yeah.
He left. He was like 18th in the world.
Yeah.
He's going to have to go back to Q school.
I don't know. We'll see. You think that?
Yeah. They're cutting down tour membership. The other thing about this, though, if you bring them back in, top 100 on the tour is like legit
cutthroat corner.
Yes.
Real cutthroat stuff happening.
Like if you add 10 in and then you just start to look at like names that drop out.
Might be, yep. Some guys with wrist issues. Some guys, it starts to get real nervy down there.
I'll tell you what, like the reality is what the tour is probably going to do is they're going to get, fat and happy like they were before and not, do. We'll see. But, that's the reality.
Feels like some sort of global schedule is on the horizon. I don't know how.
It's such a mess.
What is?
Just the
What's
tour's website.
Oh my God. The weekly call out as you try to search the tour's website. One thing that's not a mess is our new sponsor. We've got a new sponsor. I'm very, very excited about this one and excited to share it with the audience. I think they'll be into it. Andy, you and I are just men of the land. We go out there. We're handy. We go out there. We provide what the land gives us. We provide it for our family. You know us. We get down in the muck. Don't need our hands held on much. And that's why we've partnered with Maui Nui venison. Literally the healthiest red meat on the planet. It's harvested from the axis deer in Maui. This is the most enlightened and researched I've been on a partner of ours. I think I've watched a 10-minute video on their process for my own edification, not because I have to do this ad read. Listen, the axis deer in Maui, it's the healthiest red meat. Great protein. It's an invasive species. They brought 9 of them there in decades ago. And they have no predators. So the animal is totally stress-free, and they've just proliferated like the PGA Tour schedule. Soup to nuts. They're chewing up. The soil's being ground down, and it runs off into the water, pollutes the nearshore water, disturbs those ecosystems. So it's literally like the most stress-free animal, and one of the most stress-free animals in the world. They're going out at night, sourcing the deer. They have a mobile processing facility. They literally hoof it down the side of the mountain, and they ship it. It's not just venison; it's sticks too. So you can get the burgers and the ground meat and the chops.
You make tacos, make burgers, make steaks.
I like the sticks, like chops, right? Or otherwise, like a jerky stick. That's the healthiest red meat. Tons of protein. Right off, you just leave them out on your counter, grab one and go. It's a snack. It's whatever you need. They've got the sticks.
I always struggle with afternoon snacks. I always get hungry. And you look at the nutrition facts on these and it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's protein, there's no crap in it. And it is it's perfect protein.
So
everybody's. I don't know if you've heard, protein's big these days.
I've heard. So high performance individuals, people are locked in, but it's the healthiest red meat. So we're offering SGS listeners limited collection of cuts and products. Supply is limited, literally limited by the nature of the work. So they go out, they get it, they hoof it down the mountain, they process it right there on site. And take so much into account before they source it and harvest it. So you head to Maui, Maui, Nui, Nui, MauiNuiVenison.com/SGS, I believe is our URL. Yes, SGS, Maui Nui Venison, SGS. And our code is what? PJ, SGS, the code SGS. What does that get them? What is that? I didn't research this part. I researched all about the product. SGS is the code at MauiNuiVenison.com/SGS.
It gets you something, or maybe nothing. Who knows?
Promo code SGS. Pumped to have them on board. Literally, I've been using these. Just throw them out on my counter, the sticks.
I would honestly, say I had 2 of them yesterday.
I'm not a big venison guy. I didn't know much about it, but it would take a little bit of a leap out of my comfort zone. I was in. Doing.
You're a big
research.
venison guy now.
All right. I'm big. I'm a venison guy. Not big yet. We're getting there. All right. Let's go to anything else on news? Anything else you want to get out? Can we do SGS golf advice?
I got something. I got a question for you and PJ.
I got a beefy flashback.
All right.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I saw there's the news broke of Owen Wilson's TV show that he was researching last year. Stick, Apple TV Plus. He's gonna be like a washed up tour pro. Makes me wonder, what are you most excited for? I've got 3 options, and I'd like to hear what you're most excited for and why. Full Swing Season 3, Happy Gilmore 2, or Owen Wilson's Stick. Those are our 3. I mean, I can't believe we live in a world where there's 3 mainstream TV.
There might be too much. There might be too many
things
tours.
About golf.
Might be too many people trying to get their,
too many creator classics,
fingers in the game and extract whatever value for their own personal gain they can. Not Stick. I don't know. I'm just I don't know. I'm not the target for that. Look at you, PJ.
Oh wow, that's my pick.
That's my pick. The Apple TV shows are good, dude.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's my pick too. I think this is the best one of all of them.
Yeah, I have the highest expectations, I would say, given the rest of the Apple suite.
Me too. I think Stick's going to be the best. This is the grand slam for golf.
My assumption is Happy Gilmore 2 is going to be terrible. I love Adam Sandler. He was great in SNL 50. Made me tear up when he did his song almost. But come on. He stopped making good movies a while ago, right? And do we need a Happy Gilmore 2? It feels like a very craven attempt to just make some money, right? Not necessarily by Sandler, but just capitalize on a legend. The legendary movie that was 30 years old or 25.
He's talking himself into Full Swing 3.
I think that's it. Intentional comedy. I've watched 1 or 2. One and a half at this point.
Going.
1.5 at this point. I think you're.
Are you doing the pod?
Me. No, I don't think so. It's a lot going on these days. We talked about it, but I don't think so. I think Full Swing 3. If you're asking me to choose between those. So yeah. Apple TV has a new show with Owen Wilson. I guess it'll be good. I don't know. You guys seem enthused by it.
I'm excited. I'm excited about Stick.
Well, I'm glad you are.
Another Stick boy.
All right, let's go to golf advice. sgsgolfadvice@gmail.com is the email. We've gotten a ton of good ones. We got the one from...
Hold on. I meant to do this. I got the list. If we add 10 live players in, let me tell you who would not be getting their cards from last year's FedEx Cup if it was 100.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
I guess 90 would be in. So Davis Riley would be the number 100. Sam Stevens, Chuck Hoffman. That would have been probably good for Chuck Hoffman if he wasn't on tour and didn't make those comments a couple weeks ago. Be good for his own stock. Rio Hisatsune. I can never.
Hisatsune.
Hisatsune.
I assume is the one you're looking at.
Yes.
Looking for. Okay.
You're my pronunciation specialist. Chandler Phillips, Matty Schmid, JJ Spawn, David Lipsky, Adam Schenk, Ben Coles, and Daniel Berger's number 100. Ricky Fowler's 101. But to me, these are probably 10 names we don't need on tour. Outside of Berger.
What? Maybe. Yeah. Depends on the year. Depends on the week.
Tour gets way better with 10 more names.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. All right, let's go to golf advice. SGS golf advice. We had that one about the guy who was afraid to join a club because the name was so bad. This isn't advice, but someone who's been, I want to shout out Derek Smith. Use this for your research. I'm doing a project on golf courses and found my way to a list of every golf course that's been in existence for over the past 25 years. I took an hour and flipped through all 20,000. Here are some of my favorites of the worst golf course names.
He flipped through all of them?
I can't read them. Tahoe Links, Lynx, which is not in Tahoe, nor is a links course. Old Baldy Club. Oh shucks. Oh apostrophe shucks. Golf course.
I love that. I love that name. That is not one of the worst names. That's one of the best names.
Parmore Golf Course. Lil Bit of Heaven. Lil Lil like Lil Wayne. Lil Bit of Heaven Golf Club.
Love that.
Lil Mole Run. Kiss KIS Kissin' Greens Golf Course. Joe Daddy's Joe Daddy's Golf Course. Horse Thief Country Club.
Where is
Hole
that?
in the Wall. I don't know. It says it's closed. Hole in the Wall Golf Club. Fun City Golf Course. Hard Scrabble Country Club seems terrible.
I like Hard Scrabble. That's a town, isn't it?
Maybe. Bald Knob Country Club. Blue Knob. Selena Links. Club Ecstasy. What the hell is that? Club Ecstasy? Club X, letter X to C, letter C.
Do they just have night golf?
Lights and night golf. Cow Pasture, Dairyman, Cow Pasture Golf Course. There's a million with FORE. Four Sisters, Four Kicks, Four Seasons. Hazard Country Club. YOLO Flyers Club. There's just a lot of good ones. Spread Eagle Golf Course.
There's Spread Eagle, Wisconsin. That's a town.
Prison View Golf Course. Anyways, these are just some names. Shout out Derek Smith. Not a golf advice question, but nonetheless a great email that felt worthy of sharing with the listeners. Let's get to our next one. Simulator golf ruling from Lance. 34 years old, no kids, less than zero interest in fighting, but have been squared up on since moving to Chicago last fall. Guess it's just a lot of guys just looking for a fight out in Chicago.
Well,
hey guys,
this is a city in dire need. The city's just like San Francisco, never going to come back. Well, It's never going to come back. It's just apocalyptic on the streets there.
As mentioned last year, I moved from Houston to Andy's hometown.
Just to be clear, I'm joking.
Yeah,
about that.
As mentioned above, last year I moved from Houston to Andy's hometown, the Ega Center, Chicago, Illinois. This winter has introduced me to a new phenomenon, simulator golf. While as evidenced by some of TGL's tech misadventures, it's not actual golf. Sims will scratch the itch and keep your swing at least somewhat connected while the courses up here are impassable. I'm a certified golf sicko, but I have my limitations. I've noticed a lot of people up here will bring their golf spikes with them to practice on the Sims. To me, this is the equivalent of using a rangefinder or Topgolf. Are you really getting a better feel by wearing your spikes? We're standing on firm turf, generally much firmer than ball striking area, that does not resemble a natural surface. Perhaps more importantly, you look ridiculous playing pretend golf in spikes. For reference, I play at one of the many spots with TrackMan simulators, mats, not atypical or subpar surfaces. Am I out of line? I'm generally not the fun police or one to harsh one's mellow, but this is hardo behavior in my opinion. You didn't see football and baseball players using spiked shoes in the Kingdom or on Veterans Stadium's AstroTurf? Jokes. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but I don't think there's much advantage to wearing golf spikes here. I guess I can abide by spikeless shoes, though I still don't think they're much of an improvement on a pair of properly fitting trainers with good support and traction. I imagine everybody up here has those for winter time. Is it worse to wear your spikes into the simulator or bring them in a shoe bag? So multiple questions. Bring them at all, but then if you do bring them, you have the shoe bag with you as well. You can't do this. No. As we just talked about, in the larger golf industrial complex, there's some con man out there looking to get in your pocket and tell you. I imagine within 3 years, there will be a specialty simulator golf shoe. Shoe. We're already getting, here are the top 27 shoes to wear after you've played to have a drink on the patio and golf websites and stuff like. Here are the best, slides or loafers to wear after, like post golf. Like everybody's creating bullshit that you should buy that you don't need. So I'm sure we'll have sim golf specific shoes within the next 5 years. Now, no, of course you look like a complete joke wearing spikes in simulator golf. And yes, at least walk in with them spikeless. Don't bring the shoe bag and sit and change there in the simulator. You look like a complete clown. Am I out? Is that all right? Fair? Anyone disagree?
Only thing I'll throw out there, only thing is if it's snowing and you're wearing boots in.
Yes. Okay.
I think if you're coming to and fro in boots, I would say that is the defense for golf shoes. Well, like why wouldn't I wear them if I'm wearing boots to, like, it would be easy to pick up the shoe bag.
Yes.
And bring it in. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Can I throw that out there as someone who's trudged in? I would probably go for more just athletic shoes, but that's me. So that's my only defense, or someone who's really wise, a man after my heart, would just say, well, I use my golf shoes as my snowshoes because they're water.
I know what you did. They're waterproof.
I shovel. Yeah. I like to shovel in my golf shoes when I couldn't find my boots because they're elite snowshoes.
They are.
They're waterproof. They provide a little bit more traction. They are actually wonderful shoes to wear in the snow and ice in Chicago. So if somebody's just walking in with them on a snowy, icy day, I would accept that too, because that's a smart individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about wearing the golf shoes to the sim? Because of the snow and ice.
Because of snow and ice. Yeah, but it's got to be snow. You got to have accumulation to do that. This golf industrial complex, I trust, will create a product for simulator. I mean, we're on the verge of having head covers for the head covers. Like, that's how ridiculous the golf. Like we're cover for my bespoke cover. It feels like we're moving those directions. Everybody will make up something. Products for this, that.
You can buy head covers at ProShop.thefriedegg.com.
Good looking for head covers, honestly. All right. This is a great one. This is right in the Andy wheelhouse, I would say. My wheelhouse for sure. I think you're going to love this. Less golf advice, more of a suggestion. No, it's a question. A proposal. Matt, this comes from Matt. 30, no kids, no interest in fighting. You're living in a sweet spot right now, Matt. 30, no kids, no interest in fighting. I think I'm fully out. This is a great way to start. I think I am fully out on practice rounds at PGA Tour events. Let me explain. In golf, the course is the defense. In what other sport are you allowed multiple opportunities to play against your opponent right before a contest? Did the Eagles scrimmage against the Chiefs starting defense the night before the Super Bowl? No. Sports about preparing yourself as best as you can and then reacting to the opponent in real time. In a world of increased predictability in pro golf, parentheses, courses set up to the pros' liking, uniform sand, ball in hand if there's a drop of water, yardage books, forgiving equipment, all in the age of analytics, we need to introduce some unpredictability. Think about how this would impact tournaments. At familiar courses that are seen frequently, there would be an increased value in course knowledge among older players like Augusta National and other places. Most have been disappeared. At new or renovated courses, it would accentuate those who are able to react to tough conditions or situations. The effect would probably be muted in the age of analytics, but imagine it would account for an extra mistake or two on Thursday or Friday. Think about what this would do for players chasing the cut! ! Imagine the intrigue on Thursday on some of our iconic golf holes, 12 Augusta, 17 Sawgrass, when young players are playing it for the very first time and the score counts. Welcome to the league, bud. I understand the PGA Tour will never do this because, one, the players will never agree to it, and two, they make too much money on pro-ams. But I think it's a fun thought exercise. What are your thoughts?
I love this.
Sign me up.
No practice rounds and I want there to be, I brought this up on a Fried Egg pod. Yeah. But I want there to be a defensive coordinator. The PGA Tour needs to have a defensive coordinator. That. And the defensive coordinator's job is literally just to get in players' heads. Change up the defense, protect things, like have different setups, different days that might stress different skills. Job is just to set up the golf course wildly different, change up looks. I just think this is a necessity. There needs to be an emphasis put on the fact that the course is the defense. And for that, I love the no practice rounds. Now, I could give you a million reasons why this will never happen.
He admits that,
the tour will give you a million reasons why it doesn't happen, but genuinely great idea.
I would sign up for an event that did not allow practice rounds.
I mean,
it would be kind of cool. Age of analytics, like he's right. You adjust, figure it out.
The TGL would be kind of sick in the sense of like they could do this where they could just like unveil a new hole and be like, here you go. And the guy has to look at it and make a decision about what he's going to do.
I mean, what other sports, to his point, do allow this? I know tennis, you warm up, like just hitting with the other guy.
That's not
but
the
I don't.
same.
That's not the same thing. I don't think there's really anything analogous to like the full blown practice round in golf that comes. Race courses, you can on the motor racing, you race on the track and practice the turns and stuff. That would be one. I'm trying to think of others.
Depending on how your middle relief roster is, you could say it's like batting practice.
That's true. That is good. All right, let's go to Flashback Friday. We've got some more golf advice. Andy, if you need to hop. I'm going to finish this out with PJ. I got a great one.
I'm going to push back on my meeting.
Do you think Mexico?
Is it acceptable to push back 10 minutes?
Yes, 10 minutes is plenty. Although I have 45 minutes on Esteban Toledo.
I'm saying, is it acceptable to push back 10 minutes and then shorten the meeting by 10 minutes?
Well, it depends on who it's with. Is it with Yasser? No, I wouldn't do that. Don? No. I would press it? No, I wouldn't do that. But yes, if it's whoever, I don't know. If it's with PJ, then maybe. He's here and accounted for anyways. We're going to go to one of the great, for an honor of Mexican Open Week, one of the great players from Mexico, an ambassador from Mexico, Esteban Toledo, for a Flashback Friday. And I want to get specific on a rules issue with Mr. Toledo. And the all-time, I would say, villain move, not by him, but someone involved. So Toledo, this is from a Cameron Morfitt article in Sports Illustrated. It took 12 years. This was about 2000, I want to say, 1999. It took 12 years, but ex-boxer Esteban Toledo, where I lost my place. It took 12 years, but ex-boxer Esteban Toledo finally has a grip on pro golf's brass ring. He said, "My first day at school, a kid beat me up," Esteban Toledo said, "pound for pound, the toughest pro on the PGA Tour. I didn't know how to fight, so I went to the gym and I began to learn how to box. He got beat up on his first day of school. He just became a boxer." Such humble beginnings marked the career of Toledo, a golfer as well. The 36-year-old former fighter, whose 4-year career at this time in 1999, he had 12 wins, 1 loss as a fighter, as a lightweight TKO. In 1983, quit because he had appendicitis. So he's 12 wins, 12-1, and then got appendicitis and left boxing. He's weathered more body shots than most during his life in spikes. He tended bar, he's polished shoes and gathered range balls at the club across the river from his boyhood home in Mexicali, Mexico, so he could play once a week there. He shot in the 100s all the time, simmering over losing to his friends, but swallowing enough pride to ask them for help. After learning to play enough to turn pro, when he was 23, he weathered 12 straight years of the tour's Q school. 12 years, twice missing his card by 1 shot. Once in 96 when rain canceled the final round. So he missed by a shot. 12 years at Q school. He grew up in Mexicali in a home that it was dirt floors, no running water, no plumbing, nothing. As a boy, Toledo fished balls out of a pond at Mexicali Country Club with his toes and sold them back to the golfers. He found a 7-iron in a ditch and started hitting rocks with it, sometimes sneaking on to play the 3 holes closest to his house, numbers 3, 5, and 14, with one eye on the horizon lest he get caught. "I hit it out of the bunker with that 7-iron, he says. "I putted with that 7-iron. I did everything with the 7-iron. I would later learn in another article as a ram. It's a ram 7-iron he found in a ditch near this Mexicali course. Came from nothing. And that's how he took up boxing while he was working at a club. He said, "I decided I had enough after appendicitis. I didn't want to get hurt. It wasn't the sport for me to make money." So he started to focus on golf. In 1984, John Minnis, a California businessman and friend of Toledo's family, sponsored Esteban for U.S. citizenship. At that point, says Minnis, he didn't know who Jack Nicklaus was. 1984. Toledo didn't know who Jack Nicklaus was. 2 years later, at his first tour event, the Houston Open, he shot 79-81 and missed the cut by 15 shots. In his first 32 tour events, he missed the cut 20 times, falling back on the Nike Tour to play the Bills. It was difficult to change from a rough sport to a nice sport, he said. I never thought I was going to be that good in golf. The dedication I got in boxing took me to where I am at golf. So Toledo never won on the PGA Tour. He had one Buy.com Tour win, the LaSalle Bank Open, has 4 wins or 2 wins on the Champions Tour, right? 2 wins on the Champions Tour, including what am I? I'm looking at the wrong person here. He's got 4 wins on the Champions Tour, 1 Nationwide Tour win. So that's his career. Lake Erie Charity Classic was his Nationwide Tour win. One, the Pebble event, Nature Valley, Allianz, a bunch on Senior Tour. So he stuck around, made about $4 million in his PGA Tour career. Now let's go.
Is he still playing on the Champs Tour?
No, I don't believe so.
He made 8 starts last year, had 1 top 25.
There we go.
Yeah, he's hanging on.
He's got to have good status with those 4 wins. That's what they want.
Yeah. Yep.
He won at Pebble Beach.
2003, kind of in the middle of his PGA Tour career. And a little dust up with none other than Marco Dawson. He's on the border. This is now October of 2003. Money list is determining cards. Very end. We're at the very end of October. This is at the Funai Walt Disney World Classic. Esteban Toledo lashed out at Marco Dawson for waiting a day to report an improper drop. This is an AP article, which led to Toledo being disqualified from the Funai Classic as he desperately tries to keep his PGA Tour card. I think the man has no integrity about the game of golf, Toledo said.
Oh, wow.
It was the second time this year that Dawson waited until after the round to report a rules violation, a delay that caused a player to be disqualified. Now, on this round, Toledo shot 66 on Friday, made the cut, earned $8,000 from his finish. As he's like, literally, we have 1 week to go for the cards and money list, $8,000, then forfeited because of the DQ. Let's figure out how he got the DQ. He ended up being 125 on the money list by $3,000. So he saved his card by $3,000. But this was an $8,000 forfeiture in the second to last week of the year. Again, we're talking about a guy who grinded to get here, 12 years in Q school. Marco Dawson, his second time this year, he waited and DQ'd a player. Dawson defended his actions, saying he thought Toledo's drop looked unusual, but he didn't think it was a violation until he was rehashing the round later in the day. The bottom line is it was a bad drop, Dawson said, and now I look like the bad guy. Both players missed the cut the next week at the Chrysler Championship. So now he's waiting. This is the last event of the year, as this article's written. Mark Wilson and Olin Brown can jump Toledo and knock him out of a card for next year. Dawson and Toledo were paired together the first 2 rounds last week at Disney. On the final hole at the Palm course in the second round, this is the cut watch is heading, Toledo hit into a small area marked as ground under repair. He was supposed to find the nearest point of relief for a free drop, which was to the left of the area. He dropped to the right and played his shot to the green. Ordinarily, a player would point out a suspected rules violation before his partner signs his card. Once tour officials declared the drop illegal Sunday, a 2-stroke penalty, he was disqualified. He shot 66 in that second round. This was before the penalty. He would have missed the cut by a shot had he gotten the 2-stroke penalty. Dawson said he went out on the Palm course the following afternoon. He missed the cut, Dawson. He goes back to the course the following afternoon and called the PGA Tour rules official and made the determination Sunday morning. It's amazing it happened in golf, Toledo said. It kind of put me against the wall. I wasn't very focused this week. The subsequent week, as the cards are the last one down to the line. He 75, 73 misses the cut. Earlier this year in the Chrysler Classic of Tucson, Dawson didn't report an improper drop by Brandel Chambly until after he signed his card in the second round. Chambly was disqualified. At that time, he was tied for 3rd in the event. And Dawson reported it late, DQ'd Brandel as he was 3rd at the Tucson.
God.
Dawson said he never saw Toledo take the drop at Disney and that a rules official was never called for clarification, so he assumed Toledo knew what he was doing. Why did Dawson wait so long to report it? At the time, I didn't think it was serious. I just thought to myself, maybe I would have done it that way. That's the only question I had, whether my knowledge of the rules was as good as it should have been. Dawson had a 30-foot putt. He missed the cut. So he goes back to the Palm course the next day to review the situation. Sunday, the ruling was made official. Players have been talking about the incident throughout the week, ever since, especially since it was the second time this year Dawson had waited to report a violation.
This is insane.
Asked whether he thought his image would suffer, Dawson replied, "What's more important, your image or doing the right thing?" Toledo was more upset that Dawson waited so long. He said they talked Wednesday night, this was the week after, but Dawson never apologized. "I don't think he's man enough to say that," Toledo said. Toledo, a 41-year-old from Mexico, grew up in a house with dirt floors, no plumbing. This is his 7th year on the PGA Tour. "I'd like to finish 126 with honor," he said, then finish 125 with a lie. This became such a big story and such a hot topic that Dawson had to write a letter to the editor of Sports Illustrated, further explaining himself. Yeah. He said, look, I didn't mean to do this. Here's what I got it. "I was hesitant to write this because the rules violation that I called on Esteban in the Finale Classic, which resulted in his disqualification, has already created enough controversy. Last week, he was quoted saying I had no integrity. The reality is Esteban made an illegal drop, yet I've become the bad guy. It's time to set the record straight. On the final hole of Finale's second round, Esteban hit his tee shot, left edge of the fairway. I noticed his ball was a GUR from a drain. Esteban notified me of his intention to take relief, which I acknowledged, but my intention was my own shot, as I had a tough lie in a fairway bunker. After hitting onto the green, I turned in time to see Esteban swing. He was hitting from the right of the circle in the fairway, but I had no reason to believe this was not the proper point of relief. So he was convinced then. Okay, good, we're cool. Mostly what I was thinking about was my 30-footer because I knew I had to bury it to make the cut. I missed. 10th time of this year, I've above the cut line by a single shot. I missed it. We signed our cards, exchanged our pleasantries. I left the course frustrated with my play. On the hour drive home, my caddy, Mike Moore, and I were going over the round, as we typically do. He said he was surprised that Esteban had dropped to the right of the circle, and that's what gave me reason to rethink what had happened. The following day, we went back to the spot where Esteban had played his shot, and it became questionable in my mind that he made a legal drop. That night, I called him. I felt it was important to get his account. Toward the end of our hour-long conversation, I asked if he'd go back to the spot with me the next morning. So he's now missed the cut. He goes back Saturday, wants to go back with him on Sunday. He said no. That left me no other choice but to contact a rules official, which I did on Saturday evening. On Sunday morning, I got up early and again drove back to the course. This is D-bag behavior, but yes. I get it.
This is like golf. This is a golf advice.
I went to the 18th fairway one more time to recheck the drop area because I wanted to be certain. Then I conferred with 2 rules officials who agreed Esteban may have made an illegal drop. After they spoke to Esteban, he was assessed a 2-shot penalty for an improper drop and DQ'd for signing an incorrect card. Pretty soon, the incident was the talk of the tour, in part because earlier this year, it's brought to my attention after the second round, he had DQ'd Brandel Chambly. I've been on tour since 1991. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. I was left with no choice in both situations because we are bound by the rules to protect the field and integrity of competition. I'm getting bashed for upholding the rules, but I know my heart I've done what's right. Kind of insane.
Bad hombre. I'd hate to see this guy. I'd hate to see this guy at the local club.
Right?
Think about what this guy would do in a member guest.
He missed the cut. He goes back Saturday morning, goes back again Sunday morning, calls a rules official out there. And I get it. Like, he just picked the wrong side of the GUR circle. He was wrong. He took a wrong drop. I guess like if you just want to play it that way, that's fine. I don't know. He forfeits $8,000, finishes 125 out of 125. And especially with the thing earlier in the year with Brandel, too, that he missed while Brandel's in third place and DQs him. Kind of a wild thing. So then I learned on Wikipedia, the incident resulted in a feud in which Toledo sacked the agent. So they shared an agent. Toledo fired his agent, and Dawson was eventually fined $10,000 for not informing officials of an infringement promptly. I didn't know that was possible.
It's crazy.
I couldn't find the source material, but it's on Wikipedia cited. The citation is now a dead link. That says Dawson was eventually fined $10,000 for not informing officials. I didn't know you could do that. So, but yeah, and they shared an agent, and Toledo fired his agent.
Imagine if Dawson played with Patrick Reed.
That's right. So Toledo keeps his card, continues on, and like honestly spends like most of his career giving back to Mexican golfers or trying to develop Mexican golfers. This is a 2011 Farrell Evans article on ESPN. After more than 2 decades of splitting time between PGA Tour and Nationwide Tour and amassing close to $4 million in career earnings, that one victory, Toledo has his sights on a much loftier goal of an increasing number of Mexicans on the PGA Tour. I'm not going to rest until I get somebody from Mexico on the PGA Tour. This was 2011. There wasn't anyone at the time. We just talked about Carlos Ortiz, Abraham Answer, the shrimp, Jose de Jesus Rodriguez has come up. There have been many players of Mexican descent to play the tour. Trevino, Gomez, Berganio, Perez, among others. They were born and raised in the U.S. Victor Regalado is the only native Mexican golfer to win on the PGA Tour. And then you had, Lorena Ochoa, of course, on the women's side would come along. But at this time, there are no Mexicans on the PGA Tour. Since 2007, the Impulsando El Golf Profesional Mexicano, a Mexican nonprofit organization, has been holding a charity golf tournament to raise money for Mexican professional on the LPGA Futures Tour. Toledo wanted to do something similar for men. So he announced that he would award each of the top 6 money earners from the Negro Modelo Tour with a $5,000 fee so he'd give $5,000 to the top 6 guys for Q School, essentially. To raise the money, he planned a charity event at Hacienda Country Club in Mexico City. So after a tour event in August in Mexico on this Modelo tour, he hosted dinner for the top 6 at a local Brazilian restaurant. He wanted them to have a send-off to Q School that was similar to one that Nationwide Tour graduates get on their way to PGA Tour. He wanted to have them have that feeling of italics making it. But the money would come with stipulations. The lucky 6 had to play in a charity tournament in Mexico City where they're joined by 17 others off the Modelo Tour and teed it up with groups with 3 amateurs. Toledo raised $52,000 at that August event, and the 6 players are all entered as first stage qualifiers. So he's trying to give back. It would turn out one of these guys was Shrimp, Jose de Jesus Rodriguez. So he's like, it's like making his mission to get like young Mexican players, because he talks about how like in Mexico, the government, they don't see a point to it unless there's like Olympics, right? Like they're not going to get involved and go. It's like a very upper class sport and just very few. And so he's trying to like penetrate the middle class, lower class, and give them an option. One more amusing, there's a ton on Toledo. Great Bamberger article when he had to play at Trump National DC. And he's very magnanimous. He's like, this is your territory. It's stuff about the wall. It's like, a really magnanimous guy. But I found this one from 2014. He was at the U.S. Senior Open. This is a local news report. Esteban Toledo might be one of the more unique players at the 14th U.S. Senior Open. The 51-year-old has an iPad on his golf bag that holds cartoons and pictures of the trophies he's won in his career. I don't know why. He has his fair share of superstitions on the course, certain outfits on certain days, plays with specific golf balls at specific times, and lucky coins. I don't know why he has an iPad with cartoons and pictures of the trophies he won, but he did at the 2014 U.S. Open. I got a lot more here from the Bamberger article, but he basically spends the rest of his time trying to give back to Mexico golf. The last one I'll give is an SI, Anonymous Players Poll. You know how they used to do those?
Yeah.
And one of the questions is, who would you most like? And if you were in a bar fight, who would you want to have your back? So PGA Tour, Ernie Els got first. On the Champions Tour, it was Jim Thorpe 1, Esteban Toledo 2 was the response. Former boxer, that's who you want at your back. Just all around great guy, 4-time winner of the Champs Tour, Nationwide Tour winner, PGA Tour career for a dozen years, and kind of an ambassador for Mexico golf this week of the Mexican Open. And
perfect little flashback.
We'll dust up with Marco Dawson. That rule stuff is kind of nutty at the end of the year.
Insane.
All right, that does it for this Friday episode. Everybody enjoy your weekends. We will check back with you on Monday.